Hello and thanks for joining me. Today I'm at Gronant, where I'm going to spend a bit of time with the Little Terns and see what I can find amongst the dunes. I'm not very far into my walk at all, and already the birds are performing really well. Just had a female Marsh Harrier in front of me, hunting over the reed bed and then perching up on a few of the distant willows. Lovely to see. I can still remember Marsh Harrier being a red letter day in North Wales if you saw one. Whereas now there's a few reserves where in summer and in winter you would expect to see Marsh Harrier. So it's a testament to the fact that these birds are doing really well, which is always nice to report birds that are increasing rather than always declining. But as I was just watching the Marsh Harrier, barn owls has flown past me. Not very far away, but moving at speed, and by the time I've got onto it with the camera, it's kind of drifting over the reed bed and into the distance. But that was just, barn owls in this light. Dawn's just breaking. It's lovely just watching these ghost-like birds drifting over the reed bed to the cacophony of a wonderful orchestra of warblers going on. There's grasshopper warbler, lesser whitethroat, Chetty's warbler. It's just absolutely wonderful this morning. Light's about to break, so yeah, I'm going to head out onto the dunes, see if we can see our target bird, Little Tern. But yeah, even if I don't see anything else today, my day has been made. The sun's just peeking its head through the clouds and I'm enjoying some Little Terns. They're putting on a fabulous performance. One of the RSPB wardens has come checking the hot fences, and so lots of the Little Terns are kind of flying around and they're wonderful to see. Lots of the Little Terns are nesting in the fenced off area, and it's fenced off for good reason. We don't want things like foxes taking the eggs or the chicks. We don't want people disturbing them. And we don't want dogs kind of going in and accidentally disturbing the birds. There's signs up from the RSPB saying, you know, keep your distance a minimum of 30 metres away from the fence. And if you've got a big lens and a teleconverter, then it's relatively straightforward to get some good views. If you've got a telescope, you've got no problem at all. Seeing the birds behind the mesh, though, it's not ideal photographically. What I enjoy is the off-duty birds coming out onto the kind of wet bits of sand, coming for a preen, getting away from having to do all the chores of feeding the young and things like that. And you get some really beautiful views of them on the sand and realise how small Little Tern are. They are ridiculously small. There's a Dunlin that's been knocking around with some of the Little Tern. The Dunlin's the same size. If you know your birds and you know your wading birds, you'll know how small Dunlin are. And then next to the Little Tern, it looks average size, you know. It's wonderful to see. So you can get really, really beautiful views. And if you're in Wales and you want to see Little Tern, this is where you have to come. This is the only place in Wales where Little Tern nest. And they seem to be doing all right. There's lots of birds about, which again is encouraging. It's always nice to talk about the things that are doing well. So positive attitude today. And as I said, there's other birds milling around as well, not just the Little Tern. There's Dunlin. There's a small flock of Dunlin mooching around on the sand in their full summer finery. Waders in their full summer finery are just exquisite birds. I genuinely think that summer plumage wading birds are by far the most beautiful birds in the UK. And these Dunlin probably have no intention now of breeding. They don't breed along the coast in North Wales. They're an upland kind of breeding bird. But we still might be thinking about heading off to Iceland or the high Arctic, but it's mid-June now. It's getting late to be breeding up there. So these are probably non-breeding birds that are just loafing about. There's also lots of ring plover. Again, exquisite in their full summer finery. Whenever you're walking on the beach in summer and it's got shingle, always bear in mind that that's exactly where ring plover like to nest. So walk on the sand, the wet sand or things like that. They don't nest on that. They nest in amongst the rocks. Their eggs are so well camouflaged you could accidentally trod on them very easily if you're not careful. But the ring plover just, they're delightful as well. Again, a couple of ring plover walking past the Little Terns, making the Little Terns look quite, well, very little Terns. So I've really enjoyed this kind of spending some time with the Little Tern and the other wading birds. But now I think it's time to head towards some of the dune slacks and see what we can find amongst there. as I was filming the Little Tern, I noticed on the beach a compass jellyfish that had been washed up. Always seems sad when you see jellyfish washed up on the beach, because in the water they're incredibly elegant, like ballerinas drifting on the current. Out of the water, they just look like splats of goo. Admittedly, this splat of goo, if you stood on it, would give you a nasty sting. Compass jellyfish can sting. They're one of the favoured food sources of leatherback turtles, although I doubt we're going to see a leatherback turtle on a day like today. And if we did, it's very lost. Although occasionally the leatherback turtles do turn up in North Wales, so it's not out of the question. I was expecting, though, to see something like this washed up on the beach today, because across social media in the last few days, I've noticed a big spike in people reporting various species of jellyfish and their allies kind of washed up, including quite a few reports of compass jellyfish. So the kind of summer warming of the waters bringing these species up, because normally they're more of a southern UK kind of species, and then when you get the warm currents coming up from the south, that's what brings them up and get stranded on the beaches like today. So yeah, if you are walking along here to have a look at the Little Terns and you are in bare feet, just remember, not everything is sand and shingle. Some things, if you stand on them, give you a nasty sting. There's a very cute plant you get along these kind of coastal dry grassland areas, these dune slacks, hare's foot clover. It's a wonderful member of the clover family, very distinctive, very different from the other clovers in having this hare's foot appearance, very, very fluffy flower heads. And it likes dry grassland, so you often find it by the coast. You find it in dry grassland areas, but often urban and built up areas as well, in those kind of brownfield sites it seems to like as well. But it is a plant that is declining, which is a shame, because it is absolutely beautiful to look at. When you see it up close, those flower heads are just fluffy, wonderful. It's a plant that's desired as well in kind of floral arrangements, because when they dry really well, and they add a wonderful texture to flower arrangements, things like that. So yeah, it's also really good for pollinators, although it's very early in the morning now and it's still a little bit of chill in the air, so not ideal time to find the pollinators. But yeah, if you're in this area, keep an eye out for hare's foot clover. There's a couple of orchid species I've been filming this morning. One of them is pyramidal orchid, which is absolutely at its best right now. These lovely fuchsia pink flowers, absolutely stunning. There are still one or two plants yet to flower, so if you are coming in the next week or so, don't worry, you haven't missed the show yet. There'll still be lots of pyramidal orchids in flower. But it's a nice array of shapes of them. You get to see that charismatic pyramidal shape. They kind of flower heavy from the bottom and get fewer flowers towards the top, so you kind of get this pyramid shape to them, whereas lots of other similar pinky orchids, usually much more uniform in how they flower from bottom to top, kind of all the same kind of size. And a nice selection. Most of them are a nice selection of pink. Some of them are a little bit paler than others, and some of them are a little bit darker than others, so it's nice to see that kind of comparison with such a nice population of pyramidal orchids in amongst all this grass. Often I see them at 70 miles an hour whizzing past on the A55 along the grass verges there. There's plenty of pyramidal orchids, so it's nice to get up close and personal with these. And if you do come later in the day, keep an eye out for six-spot bonnets. They do like pyramidal orchid as well, nice day-flying moth. The other orchid I've been filming is bee orchid. I found some further down from where these pyramidal orchids are, and they're absolutely wonderful. They're one of my favourite flowers because they just constantly want to make you smile. There's just something about when you look at those flowers that just puts a smile on your face. And I seem to be having a fantastic year for them, because wherever I go, I seem to be tripping up over them at the minute, which I'm not complaining about, but it is nice to see. And people often say, why is it called bee orchid when it looks nothing like a bee? Well, it does, it's just the bee that it mimics doesn't really occur in the UK. So it's often self-pollinating in the UK as opposed to being pollinated by bees. It is absolutely wonderful though. So if you are walking along this area, do keep an eye out for the orchids. There's other species of orchid as well, but the bee orchids and the pyramidal orchids, they are by far my favourite here. to find myself a few moths to keep me occupied along this boardwalk, including the white plume moth, which is an absolutely stunning micro moth. It's T-shaped with wings that look like feathers, and it's pure white, looks like a ghost as it travels through the grass. And this one's just landed in front of me, but in the grass, down an embankment under a bridge, so it's very dark, not the best of footage, I apologise. However, the scarlet tiger moth, that's been much more obliging. And the adult of this moth, absolutely stunning. And we discussed in a previous video, the Deeside Industrial Estate video, that this species has undergone a rapid expansion all across North Wales. And 5 years ago, if you said you were at Gronant and saw scarlet tiger moth, it would have been something very special, whereas now you kind of expect it. Nonetheless, it's still a stunning moth. It's a lovely day when you find an adult scarlet tiger moth just sat out waiting to be admired and appreciated like this one. Absolutely stunning coloration. And the other moth is a little bit more unassuming compared to the scarlet tiger. It's straw dot. And straw dot's found right across North Wales. It's quite a common species. If you walk through long grass in the summer months, you often kick them up. They kind of appear. And they're straw coloured, quite unassuming, as I say, but they're a suspected migrant as well. And I feel like this might be a migrant because in the moth trap in the last few days, the nights have been a little bit milder than what they have been in the previous week. And there's been signs of migrant moths appearing. I've had a few diamondback moths and a few silver Y. These are moths that indicate movement of insects, basically. And in the moth trap in the last few days, I've also had a few straw dot. So it's an indication that has been a probable arrival of these as well. So that's lovely to see. I really enjoyed my morning here. It's one of those walks, as you've seen, we've had flowers, insects, jellyfish, birds. It's been wonderful. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, if you can like and subscribe, that'll really help the channel out. And I'll see you next week, wherever we may end up. I'll see you then. Bye.